Rob was going to, but he has got some information and we're all set up for the boys, so I'll introduce the boys. It's a lot of pleasure that we have Gus Burrows from the Driving Performance, Holden Driving Performance Centre, and Steve Robinson, who is a driving instructor at the centre also. As you know, we are very, very heavily involved and committed to our driving program for our youth. And we have a lovely relationship with the centre, and it gets stronger and stronger as the time goes on. And we just thought it would be nice to have Gus, who has come on board as their public relations person, has a very, very strong background, and Gus, I'm sure, will just elaborate a little bit on that, what brought him to this stage. Very involved with V8 cars in the background, in public relations. And so we're working with Gus to improve our program, how we can deliver it more out to the schools, and just strengthening our involvement with the centre. Because, you know, ongoing, it is a big commitment on our club with the funds that we raise to put, at this stage, about 200 Year 12 students through the course. But if we continue to do that, and hopefully increase those numbers, we certainly need a lot of help along the way. So Gus, it's my pleasure to introduce Gus and Steve, if you're going to play tag team, but just to give us an overview of where they are at the centre. So welcome, boys.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, thanks very much for having us here. As Sue just discussed, obviously the commitment you guys produce for our driving centre is massive, and we're all here to share a common goal to make our roads a safer place. Now we pride ourselves on having one of the best facilities in the country, if not the Southern Hemisphere. We've got the only mechanical turntable in the Southern Hemisphere, which you'll see in these photos back here, and Steve will discuss. We'll talk about a bit later. And look, the driving centre itself has been around for 20 years. It started off through Frank Gardner, who had a vision, and he really set the benchmark for our guys. And over the past 20 years, we've sort of come through it. And every year we put through, obviously with the commitment from you guys, hundreds and hundreds of school kids, and it's a really great thing. And over the last few years, we've really started to engage the community and trying to get more kids through, and actively heading out to schools and teaching these kids, even with static displays. You know, they don't have to come out to our driving centre, but the facilities we've got out there they're massive, right? And we do have a racetrack out there, which we do use for a bit of fun as well, but predominantly we do use for these events, like driver training courses. More recently, we've been working with local police departments as well, who are starting to jump on board, and probably more importantly, state fire departments. So now we have access to every grade 12 student across Queensland, which is massive for us. But obviously, you know, it's a great appreciation from us for you guys for actively going out to these schools and putting all these kids through, because, you know, it means so much to us and everyone at the driving centre to make our roads a safer place. Because, you know, the statistics tell us that road casualties are slowly coming down, which is awesome, but unfortunately 40% of those fatalities are children under 25. So, you know, we see that as something that just needs to be cut right back, and that's why we teach all ages out there, but predominantly we want to approach young children and start young, get them young, and get them educated. We've also been doing a bit more recently with sort of other local community groups and sporting groups, the Gold Coast Suns and the Titans. We've actually got the Suns coming out in about a month, and believe it or not, 80% of the players of the new Gold Coast team are all on their P-plates, so it just sort of goes to show that, yeah, it's a very young team. You know, you jump on board with these guys and then it's massive exposure, and obviously we want Rotary to work in with us. I've only come on board this year, and I didn't realise how massive your commitment is to us, so you know, we're working to sort of get you a lot more involved. We want to put your branding on all of our collateral. We want your plaques out there. We've got a new business we're just launching, which Stephen and I will talk about later, but it's more of a driving school where we're actually going to head out there and pick kids up from school and teach them like your right way driving centres, and we want the Rotary logo, the Hope Island logo on each of those cars and out at our driving centres, so we can really sort of build that relationship and that community engagement between ourselves and Rotary. And also, as Sue touched on that there, you know, our facility is massive. We've got a 2-kilometre racing circuit, the only motorised turntable in the Southern Hemisphere. We've also got the V8 Supercar team out there, Paul Morris Motorsport, which is Russell Ingall and Steve Owen. And you know, we try and use that as well. Like, okay, they're race car drivers and they go fast, but they do it in a controlled environment. And Russell's a massive advocate of safe driving, so we're getting him on board as well for a lot of these school days. And it seems to be really working because he's a prominent figure now. He's a household name, and kids really do look up to people like Russell. I've just brought Stephen Robinson out here as well because obviously there's some new members here who may not know too much about the driving centre and what we do out there. And Stephen's our head instructor. So basically I'm just going to get him to sort of run through briefly what we teach these kids prior to obviously taking them out in the cars, and we sort of teach them, Stephen will explain it all, but sort of I'll get him to explain the static stuff and then a little bit about what you're seeing behind us here. So Steve, if you want to thank everyone.
Thanks, Gus. As Gus said, my name's Steve Robinson. I'm the Chief Driving Instructor at the Driving Centre. We do a lot of schools, and we're obviously trying to do some more. Through Sue, we've actually got one of the schools coming out late this afternoon, so the Rotary Club's definitely helping with bringing kids through. There's a lot of things that we like to teach the kids before we just jump in the cars and go. One of the main things is they've got to get the understanding of they're driving a nearly 2-tonne vehicle at speeds of up to 110 kilometres an hour. They've got to realise what can happen if it goes pear-shaped for them and if it all goes wrong. And we can show them that in a controlled environment where when they leave, not only have they had a good fun day, but hopefully they've left with a lot of tips that help them through the rest of their driving career. Now, one of the, talk about firstly is when, we all read the newspapers and watch the news, and there's always seems to be the big car crashes, always, never with one person in it, it's always a group of friends or, 4 or 5 in the car. When you drive a car, and we explain to the kids that you have a percentage of a chance of having a crash, if you add one more person into that car, it times the percentage by 2. If you fill the car up full of your mates, you're 5 times more likely to have a crash than you are if you're driving the car by yourself. So, pretty amazing statistics, and we just drum that through to the kids at an early age to keep it nice and safe. Now, I'll just quickly talk about a few of the things that the kids learn by the time they've left. We start with having an hour lecture in the morning, and we talk about stuff like balance, vision, steering, brakes, and we even go as far as going through the airbags. With the airbags, we teach the kids that they're the best thing ever invented in a motor car, but unless you know how they work, it could be the worst thing in a motor car. So an airbag comes out at over 200 kilometres an hour, and it's got a detonator behind it, so it's an explosive device. So when you see, Gus is just going to show you here, there's an airbag that's been deployed. The airbag goes up and down within a blink of an eye. It's got holes in the back of it, so as soon as it goes up, it comes down. You cannot see an airbag deploy. If you've obviously got your hands in the wrong position on the steering wheel, when that airbag deploys at 200 kilometres an hour, a lot of people have been knocked out by their own fist or arm. So another thing we talk about is, and we've all done it when we were younger, driving back from the beach. You're in the passenger seat, you've got your legs up on the dash or the legs out the side of the window. The passenger side airbag is twice the size of a driver's side, so it comes out at over 320 kilometres an hour, and you could just imagine where they'd be looking for their legs if they were involved in an accident. So we try and we don't try to scare the kids into all the bad things that can happen, but we just explain to them how they work and what can happen. So, Gus, I'm pretty happy with that. When we use the steering wheel, we explain to them how to hold the wheel, where to hold the wheel, and how to use a driving technique. So I mean, it takes us an hour